Hey guys, it's Mrs. Hoekstra. So today we're going to talk about creating and solving equations. So go ahead and put that at the top of your notebook and put today's date on there as well. Creating and solving equations. So some of the hardest parts of dealing with algebra is just reading the story problem and knowing how to start writing it. All right. So this will probably be somewhat new to you guys, at least on the part of writing and the equation. Solving it should be similar to stuff you've seen in the past. Our first problem is going to be about Corey and his friend Walter. So go ahead and grab the page that has to do with Corey and his friend Walter. And we're going to work predominantly on that worksheet today and cutting that one up. So if you need to, go ahead and hit pause and cut and paste that one in. All right, so suppose Corey and his friend Walter go to a movie. Each of their tickets cost the same amount, and they share a frozen yogurt that costs $5.50. The total amount they spent is $19.90. How can you write an equation that describes the situation? So, what don't we know? We don't know the cost of the tickets. Okay, we do not know the cost of the tickets, so we're going to pick a variable. We're going to use T. T equals cost of ticket. Okay, we don't know the cost of the ticket. We do know that they were the same, so it wasn't like there was an adult with a child. And we know that they also bought a frozen yogurt. So we have two tickets, plus the frozen yogurt, right? Plus the frozen yogurt, which was $5.50. And we know that the total is $19.90, right? Total is $19.90. Now, this should be a pretty straightforward algebra problem. So what we're going to do is we're going to undo this to solve for the tickets. So I have to first start by subtracting the 550 because it's being added. I have to do the opposite. And what you do to one side, you have to do the other. And so my 550s on the left side are canceled out, and I'm left with 2t, and that is equal to 1440. Two tickets are $14.40. We know that they are the same, right? We know that the tickets are the same. So I'm going to divide by 2. And so T is equal to $7.20. Okay? Each ticket costs $7.20. Did we answer the question? Yes, we did. All right, next one. Our next problem is about Aaron and Alice. Aaron and Alice are bowling. Go ahead and cut that one out, glue that one in. Again, hit pause until everybody's ready. All right, so Aaron and Alice are bowling. Alice's score is twice, her score is twice the difference of Aaron's score and 5. The sum of their scores is 320. Find each student's bowling score. Now, a lot of people go, I don't even know where to start. So my first question is, whose score do we know the least about? Whoever's the least, that's the one that we're going to use as our variable. So in this case, it is Aaron. So I'm going to use A equals Aaron's score. Okay, we know the least about his score, but we do know Alice's score. We know her score is twice the difference of Aaron's score, which is A, and 5. The difference of Aaron's score and 5, plus it's double that, right? That's Alice's score. Okay? And we know that their score, the sum of their scores, so we have Aaron's score plus Alice's score. We know the sum we're adding is 320. Okay, we have this set up correctly now. Now the question is, what is their scores? Find each student's score. So first thing I'm going to have to do is deal with this 2 times a minus 5. I have to distribute. So I have A plus, now what's 2 times A? 2A. And what's 2 times 5? 10. So 2A minus 10 equals 320. Now what I'm going to do next is I'm going to combine like terms. I'm going to combine the A's. And I have a 1A plus a 2A for a grand total of 3 A's minus 10 equals 320. This is now a two-step equation. I have a minus 10, so I'm going to do the opposite, and I'm going to add 10. What you do to one side, you have to do the other. So the 10s on the right side have now canceled out, and I now have 3a is equal to 330. Okay, now this is 3a. I only want single a, so I'm going to divide both sides by 3 because it is being multiplied. And I now have a is equal to 110. So now I know Aaron's score is 110, and I've got to figure out Alice's score, right? This is 110. So I'm going to plug it in here. 2 times 110 minus 5, right? Plug this in. So 2 times 105, right? So it's 210. So Aaron's score is 110, and Alice's score is 210. All right, go ahead and pause if you need to catch up to me. But the next problem I'm going to do is about Maria, Carlos, and Amanda. I change my page. Go ahead and cut out the problem about Maria, or excuse me, Mari or Mary, Carlos, and Amanda. Cut that one out. Hit pause if you need to. So we have Mari, Carlos, and Amanda, and they're collecting stamps. Carlos has 5 more stamps than Mari, and Amanda has 3 more stamps than Carlos. Altogether, they have 100 stamps. Find the number of stamps each person has. So if you notice, who do we know the least about? We know the least about Mari. I'm going to use X, but you can use whatever variable you want. X equals Mari's stamps. All right, we know the least about her, so that's who we pick for our variable. Now it says that Carlos has 5 more stamps than Mari. Carlos has 5 more. X plus 5 equals Carlos. Carlos's stamps. Helps us do this right. Carlos's stamps. And then we have Amanda. Amanda has 3 times the number of Carlos. So 3 times Carlos. Carlos was X plus 5, so 3 times the quantity of X plus 5 is equal to Amanda. Amanda's stamps. And we know that all together, so that means I know I'm going to be adding, they have 100. So I'm going to take Mari's stamps plus Carlos's stamps plus Amanda's stamps. Add them all together, and they equal 100. Okay? So the first thing I'm going to do, and this doesn't mean it's always going to be the first thing, but I like to distribute. Let's deal with that. So I'm going to leave Mari and Carlos's stamps alone, and let's deal with Amanda. 3 times X is 3X. 3 times 5 is 15. And it still all equals 100. Nothing has changed other than distributing the 3. Now I'm going to add my x's. Now normally I say show all my steps, but we're going to add all the x's. I have 1x plus 1x plus 3x, right? 1x plus 1x plus 3x. So I have 5x plus 5 and 15 makes 20. Okay, so if you're confused as to what I did, I'm going to highlight it so you guys can see what I did here. I took 1x, 1x, and 3x and got 5x. And then on the other thing, I did 5 plus 15 and got 20. Okay, that's where the numbers are coming from if you're confused. If you need to, you can highlight that up. So I have 5x plus 20 equals 100. Now I've got a 2-step equation. So I'm going to subtract 20 because it's the opposite of adding. Oops, as I write add, minus 20. And what you do to one side, you got to do the other. So my 20s are gone, and I now have 5x is equal to 80. And then because these are being multiplied, I'm going to divide. And x equals 16. So Mari has 16 stamps. Carlos, helps to spell it right. Don't know why I have a hard time with his name. Carlos has 21 stamps, right? Because he has 5 more. And Amanda, she has 3 times his, so has 63 stamps. If I add all that up, does it actually equal 100? It does. I feel pretty good. Now I have this question on there. Does it make sense to have a fraction in this situation? Okay, go ahead and talk about this in a moment. So it doesn't make sense because you can't buy a fraction of a stamp, right? So when you do a problem like this and you get a fraction answer, and you know that a fraction doesn't make sense, that gives you a hint you should go back. So the first time I actually did the bowling problem, I got a fraction answer, and I was like, where's my mistake? Because you can't have a fraction answer when you're bowling. It's not like the bowling pin split off, right? All right, I want you guys to cut out the rectangular garden, still on the same sheet that we've been working on. A rectangular garden is fenced in. Go ahead, cut that out. Hit pause while you guys glue that in. All right, so a rectangular garden is fenced on all sides with 256 feet of fencing. The garden is 8 feet longer than it is wide. Find the length and the width of the garden. First thing I want you to notice is the word rectangular garden. So you should automatically go and draw a rectangle. So that's what I'm going to do. Step 1, it mentions the shape, I draw the shape. Now, while I'm drawing my shape, I'm going to think about things I know about rectangles. I know that one side is called length, the other side is called width. I also know that the length on the top is the same as the length on the bottom, and the width on the right is the same as the width on the left. I know that those are all the same like that. Okay? I also am told in my problem that the garden is 8 feet longer than it is wide. So the length is 8 feet longer than the width. So I'll fill that in. Okay? Now I am also told that I have 256 feet of fencing. This is math code to tell you we're talking about perimeter. We're talking about perimeter here. So when I think perimeter, I need to remember the perimeter formula. Perimeter is 2 times the length plus 2 times the width. All right, so I want you guys to hit pause. I want you to solve this problem as a group at your table. To solve this, see if you get the same answer as me. So go ahead, hit pause now. All right, there's all my work and my answers. I got 60 feet for the width, and the length is 68 feet. If you only had 120 and 128, your 120 was because you didn't do 2 of the lengths and 2 of the widths. All right, so if you need to, pause and make sure you guys have the same work as me. Otherwise, we're going to keep on going. All right, on the same paper that you have, right? Oh, I want to back up a second. By the way, I really like this problem. I think this is an incredibly great problem to have in my notes, because in a few days, this problem may be really handy to know. Okay, just saying, I like this problem. All right, back to my other page here. Go ahead and cut out the problem with regards to Janine having 2 job offers at 2 companies. Again, hit pause and cut those out. All right, Janine has 2 job offers at 2 companies. One company offers her a starting salary of $28,000 and a raise of $3,000 each year. The other company starts her off at $36,000 with a raise of $2,000 each year. In how many years will the salary be the same at both companies? And what would the salary be? In how many years? So I need to figure out what is my variable. The thing I don't know is how many years she has to work at both jobs. So I'm going to use y for a number of years. Okay, how many years does she have to work at both jobs? And then I got to figure out how much she's going to earn at that particular time. So I'm going to do job number 1 is equal to job number 2. That's my plan. So let's look at job number 1. Job number 1, right? She starts at $28,000 and she gets a raise. A raise means she's going to add $3,000 per year. Y for years. That is going to equal group or company number 2. Company number 2 starts her with $36,000 and a raise of $2,000 a year. Okay, so those are my 2 parts of my equation. Now you'll notice I have variables on both sides. So I need to get the variable on one side. There are 4 ways to start this problem. Me personally, I'm going to start by moving my variables. I like to move my variables first because of things I know that are going to happen in the future. So it just kind of makes more sense for me. I also like to move the smaller one to the bigger one. So I'm going to subtract 2,000 over y, to the 3,000y. But you don't have to. You could move it the other way if you wanted. Okay, it's just you're going to have negative numbers, and ew. If I can avoid negatives, I will. So I have 28,000 on the right-hand side plus 1,000y. And then it's going to be equal to 36,000 because the 2,000y is gone now. Now I'm going to move my constants. So I'm going to move the 28,000 over to the 36,000 because what you do to one side, you got to do the other. It's positive over here, so I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to subtract it. So I now have 1,000y is equal to 8,000. And of course, if I divide by 1,000, on both sides, y equals 8. So in 8 years, she will make, now how much money will she make? Plug it into one of the 2 or even both. I find it's easier to plug it into company number 2 just because that's how my brain works. But that's totally up to you as to if that's what you want to do. You could do either one. But I find company number 2 actually easier to work with. So I've got, what, 36,000 plus 2,000 times 8, and I get 36,000 plus 16,000, and I get $52,000. She will make $52,000 at both companies. And if she stays longer, then probably company number 1 will be better because she's going to start making more money in the long run. But if she doesn't plan to stay there longer than 8 years, then she might be better off actually going to company number 2. Just depends on how long she plans to stay there. Can't get that crazy little star to disappear. There we go. I'm going to skip the moving company problem. Okay? And I would like you to go to the problem about Claire. And she bought fencing. All right, this is on the other page. Go ahead and cut that out, please. Hit pause. All right. Claire bought just enough fencing to enclose either a rectangular garden or a triangular garden as shown. The 2 gardens have the same perimeter. How many feet of fencing did she buy? So let's work with, so we know the rectangle is equal to the triangle, right? Or maybe we should say rectangle equals triangle. Mrs. Hookstra's hieroglyphics. All right, the perimeter of the rectangle. Remember, we need 2 of each of these, right, to get the perimeter. So 2 of the 3x minus 3's plus 2 of the x minus 3's, there's your rectangle, is equal to the entire triangle, right? Well, those 2, because it's isosceles, are the same. So we have 2 of the 2x minus 1's plus the base. So now I've got to figure out how many feet are on each side. I would like you guys to try to do this one on your own, but I know this is getting a little long, so I'm going to work it out with you guys, or at least get you started. We've got 2 times everything in that first parentheses. So instead of 3x, it is now 6x minus 6. Plus, I'm going to distribute the 2 on the next one. 2 times x is 2x. 2 times 3 is 6. All right. On the other side of the equal sign, again, distribute the 2. So we have 4x, and 2 times 1 is 2. So we have 4x minus 2, plus the 2x that doesn't get distributed. On the left-hand side, let's combine the x's. All right, let's combine the x's. So I'm going to combine 6x and 2x together, and I'm going to combine the minus 6 and the minus 6 there. Remember, the operation stays with the constant or with the number. So 6x and 2x gives me 8x minus 6 and 6 gives me 12. Okay? Again, that's where those numbers are coming from. I've highlighted them so you guys can see where everything's coming from. This is going to equal, again, I can combine the variables, 4x and 2x, right? 4x and 2x, that's going to make 6x minus 2, okay? So now I have variables on both sides. I usually like to move the variables first, but it really doesn't matter. I'm going to move the 6x. This is a positive 6x, so I'm going to subtract it. I'm going to do the opposite. What you do to one side, you have to do the other. My 6x's on the right-hand side cancel out, and I have 2x minus 12 is equal to negative 2, right? It's still there. That operation stays with the 2. Now, I'm going to move my 12, but it's in minus 12, so I'm going to add 12 to both sides. Add 12 to both sides. Negative 2 plus 12 gives me 10. My 12's on the right-hand side cancel, and I have 2x equals 10. Divide both sides by 2, and x equals 5. I have not answered the question. The question is, how much fencing did she buy? So now I've got to plug this in and solve it. I can plug it into both or either. So I'm going to come over here. I've got 2 of the 3 times 5 minus 3 plus 2 times 5 minus 3. Okay? Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, parentheses first. 2 times, what do I have? 15 minus 3 plus 2 times 2. 15 minus 3 is 12. So I have 2 times 12 plus 4, or 24 plus 4. The perimeter was 28 feet. Right? She has 28 feet of fencing. 28 feet of fencing. If I try the other one, it better work. 2 of the 2 times 5 minus 1 plus 2 times 5. That crazy little star keeps popping up. All right, so then we've got 2 times 10 minus 1 plus 10, or 2 times 9 plus 10. And I've got what? 18 plus 10, 28. Sure enough, it worked. Either one. All right, my guess is this has filled up the entire class period. All right, so go ahead, clean up, and yeah, see you guys later.